Hi guys, it's Kelly and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are trying something different. So I have edited the live that I did on Wednesday, and I've actually edited it two ways. So this one is with a completely new voiceover, so that's why you can see my face. But the words that I'm saying don't match up because this is how I showed the product. And so we're using the Halloween set, the Happy Halloween set, the If the Broom Fits set. These are all stamps and dies. And then the Wood Frame Builder, I think is what the other one's called. And so we're going to build this little scene, and this is different. And I'm really interested to see what your what your input is. Before we get too far along into the video, I do want to mention Honeybee is having a fall flash sale. So it's 20% off the fall category, which includes all things fall and Halloween. And they usually do throw in some other things that are just like general. That's 20% off that. I will link it below. It's through Friday, tomorrow. So anyway. So I pre-stamped everything. I stamped it with the intense black ink from Honeybee because I'm going to be using Copic markers to stamp. And then it actually turns out I was trying to be like kind of prepared, but it turned out that I stamped some stuff that I didn't even need to use. Basically that whole with the cat and the moon and the clouds, I'm not going to use any of that. So because I knew that I wasn't going to use any of that, you guys know I'm a cheap chicken and I'm not going to waste the cardstock. So the frames that I want for the doorway, I'm going to cut out of what I've already stamped on because I'm going to color over it anyway and you won't be able to see any of that stamping. At the time I thought I was still going to use the cat, which if you watched the video in real life, like as it was happening, the live as it was happening, I did color the cat, even though I didn't end up using it because honestly, like sometimes you're just throwing it together. So here, the whole idea is I wanted like this cute little witch, like this little outside scene, like kind of like peeking through this doorway. And so I'm putting my quote unquote doorway in place so that I can figure out my light source. And for some reason, I pictured my witch kind of like creeping around the corner on the right-hand side. So I put my light source on the top left, even though this is totally opposite of what I normally do. What I normally do is top right. So that's okay. It's a good opportunity for us to grow. So I put that circle shape, that moon. I originally thought I was going to use the moon from Halloween, but it was just too big. So this is just a regular circle die cut that I'm creating my moon. And then I am going to do ink blending to create my kind of night sky. This is, I call it like I was telling my sister the other day, like I call it my season to glow, because it just seems like in the Halloween cards, like everything I do has a glow. So hopefully you're not too tired of seeing it, or maybe you're new here and you've never seen it before. But anyway, we're doing this night scene because we have our moon as our light source. And so we want to leave things nice and light around our light source, and it will get darker as it comes out. Now, I always do my ink blending twice. So I start with my lightest color, work out to my darkest, and then my darkest back into my lightest. So you can see I'm leaving that top left corner pretty light. I am still adding a little bit of blue kind of around the edges, and that is because like I don't want it to be just a completely bright white corner. And then I will work out to that black soot, and then from the black soot back in. The brushes are really good for this. Like in the beginning when brushes first came out, I was kind of like meh, because I'm impatient and I like to put down a lot of color really quickly. But I will say for brushes, it does give you the ability to have a softer blend. And so for something like this, where, you know, we're trying to get that really soft blend into that white moon, the brushes work really well for that. So now that we're out to the black soot, heading on our way back in, you can see I'm still going over everything because any kind of ink blending, whether you're using distress inks or any other dye inks, the layering of color is always going to help it to blend better. So the more color that we put down, the better the blend is that we're going to have. So even though this blueprint sketch isn't going to cover the chip sapphire or the black soot, it's still going to be dark. It is going to add some brightness, but mostly it's going to add some richness. It's going to make sure that we have really good color saturation for our night sky. And as you can see, as we're getting closer to that lighter color, we are getting closer to our moon. So again, you can this is a really good example. This is like way sped up. I totally don't ink blend this fast. But that salty ocean is lighter than everything else, but by putting it over the other colors, it immediately brightens everything up. So now for the actual moon part, I'm not picking up any ink. I'm only using the ink that's left over on my brush, and I'm very, very lightly going around that mask. And that is because I need to have something there so that the moon will show white. Here, I am going to put a little, this isn't news to you guys if you've been here before, I'm going to put a little pizzazz, a little sparkle, some little stars in the background. Because my inks do work with water, I'm using Distress inks, I am spattering on some just clean water to begin with, which are going to look kind of like farther away. And then I'm going to mix up some perfect pearls with a little bit of water. In order to avoid the large droplets, you can tap off a few times before you take it to your paper. And I mean, I don't think they necessarily look like stars. I'm just being honest. I don't think they look like stars, but I do think they add to the whole vibe of it. So I'm happy that I did it. So now here, what I'm showing you is the light source. So here's a little moon or sun or whatever, and there's the little rays. And so this is how we're figuring out how the light is going to hit. So if my light source is in that top left, in my door frame, this left-hand side of the right hand side of the door is going to be the lightest because that's where it's going to hit. And then there's also going to be what we call backlighting. So the edges of the entirety of the door frame will be a little bit lighter, but it will be lightest where the light is hitting. So this kind of adds in, like you're going to see a lot of me coloring the same, over and over again because I like to be authentic, and this is how it really happens in real life for me. And just because I do this for a living doesn't mean every time I do something it comes out perfect. So I always start on the lighter side, and then I test it on my background and I'm immediately going to see it's too light. So then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add a little bit more dark. And honestly, it was still too light. So then I'm going to go back in and add it a third time. And the reason that I leave this in is because I apologize, it's probably a little bit redundant to watch. And watching it live, it was probably a little bit easier because we're like chit-chatting, throughout the whole thing. But I leave it in because I want you to know when you're at home doing your coloring and you're trying to learn something new and you're like, it's just not working out, like keep going because it doesn't always work out on the first shot for any of us. So just keep going. So anywho, the experiment that we're doing is, so I talked to you guys before about how I was doing the lives on my channel and on Honeybee's channel, and my views were just plummeting. And so for the month of August, I was like, I'm only going to do the lives on Honeybee's channel, which is what I did. And my views went down as well, but my subscribers, I was losing mad subscribers. So my subscribers are back up, but the views are really about the same. And I don't know if that has to do with the algorithm or the content, but there isn't anything I can do about that. All I can do is kind of just show up as myself and, share what I've always shared, and hopefully it'll get to the right people. But I have never edited down one of the replays, and I always had intentions to do it, but I'm gonna be honest with you, because of my style of card making, because it involves a lot of coloring, these lives are long. They are very long. I don't mind it when I'm in it. Also, can I just apologize for any of these like weird transitions that you're seeing? I had to update my video software, and so I am still kind of like learning the ins and outs of it. So it might not be as smooth as it normally is. I apologize. Hopefully next time will be better. But anyway, so like the lives are just, they're very long, and I totally don't mind spending the time doing them. It's fun. I like the chit chatting and everything else. But I understand not everybody has the time to watch those. And also it does change my ability to, like, for the editing. Like here I'm showing you the coloring, which is how I was coloring it in real time, but I can't zoom in like I can with my regular camera. I'm hoping to be able to fix that soon, but I'm just not there yet. So anyway, I did it. I did it 3 ways. And so we did the original replay, which I will link below, and you can watch on the Honeybee channel. It's only on the Honeybee channel. And then I had to download the 2.5-hour live. I'm not even kidding you. I had to download it, and I edited it to the best of my ability while still keeping all of the live things in there. As much of the live things as I could, like the stories and the chit chat and things like that. That one is also available on my channel. And it's in about an hour and 15 minutes long. So that's going to be one, like, if you are a person who's like, oh, I love to listen to you chit chat and I like to play craft videos while I'm making, that type of video is probably going to be for you. And then I did this one, which is how I would normally do my videos, super edited down, doing the voiceover after the fact, keeping it to, like that 20-30 minutes. So I am very interested in your feedback. Please share with me which one you prefer, because I'm going to be honest, if there is not a market for the one that's like edited down to like an hour, I'm not going to do it because it was so time consuming. I would rather just have like the regular replay and then this one. But if there is a market for it, I will spend the time doing it because I understand the benefit of being able to see coloring in real time. So that is that. So now with the coloring, you can see we're coloring our black items. I am going to link at the end of this video, I will link to another video that I did where I colored this set, this If the Broom Fits set. I will link to that because that one is zoomed in. So if you're like, hey, I really love that set, I'm going to pick it up in this fall sale. Oh, and there was another one, which we did like a study in shading of apples, which with the Awesome to the Core set. And so that one I downloaded it to edit as well. So that's what I'm trying to like get a feel for what you guys prefer before I spend all my time editing, because this one really, it took me most of my day to edit down. So anyway, so the blacks, we are coloring black. You have to put black into black if that's what you're coloring. But the skull and crossbones here, I do want to read as white. I know when we're looking at them right now, it looks super, super dark, but you have to understand this is a night scene. So that means we do have to shade things darker than what they are. Because there isn't a lot of, we only have that one light source. So same thing for the broom. Which I love this little broom. I just think it's, I don't know, it's just the way that it's drawn is so, I don't know, it's right up my alley. I think it's adorable. Like, it's really whimsical. And so here, normally, if I was doing a golden yellow, I would do a Y02, a Y08, we're talking about Copics here, a YR24, and an E99, and that would be my bright golden yellow. I still want this to read as yellow, but it's a night scene, so it's not going to be bright golden yellow. So instead, I've used an E29, and then I'm blending that out with an E57. And then I'm lying to you. I went in with an E59, and then I blended it out with the E39, and then used my E99, and then the lightest color was my YR24, which is normally my dark mid-tone. It's still going to read as yellow in the scene. It's just not going to be that bright. Look, I was trying to show it to people, and I was like, oh, I'm not even looking at what I'm doing. So then here, we're going to color these stockings. You guys have heard me say this before. If you're trying to color something that is going to be striped white, it's just easier to do the white first. We are being very heavy-handed with our grays. Again, this is a night scene, so we're coloring it all pretty gray, leaving just the true white on the very edge. And then we decided in the live that we were going to do this as a purple and white striped kind of stocking on our little witch. And so my darkest purple is a V09, but I needed something that was going to read just a little bit darker. So instead I put down first a B99, and then I went over that with my V09, extended that out a little bit, then the V06 and the V04 really just on the little like the front edges. Normally I would go all the way out to a V01, but again, it's a night scene, so we have to scale it back. For this part of it, I left this in because if you want to color the skirt, this is like helpful to be able to watch it. But honestly, you can't see. You can't see any of that. Same thing with the skirt. Like somebody had commented and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you spent all the time coloring that skirt and you really can't see any of it. True facts, folks. But I knew the vision that I had in my head when I was coloring it, and I have a problem where I cannot just partially finish something. Like I need to color the whole thing. Otherwise it's hard for my brain. So here I've pulled out a couple of browns because I'm not sure exactly the shading like how dark I need the shading to be, and what's going to work together. So for this shading, I know that my light source is coming from the top left, but sometimes it's easier to do what you know and then add in your light source. So what I'm doing is I am coloring the skirt as if like I normally would with the bends and the folds. We have what we call peaks and valleys. So anything that's a valley is going to be darker. Anything that's a peak is going to be our highlight color. And so I'm coloring this the way that I normally would. I'm using darker browns than into my orange because again, it's a night scene. So we do have to adjust our color palette for that. But in doing this, I already know how to do this and I'm comfortable doing this. So by doing what I'm comfortable with first, I can get all of the colors correct that way. And then it'll be easier for me to go in and say, okay, this is how I color this. Now, how do I adjust it for a light source? If the light source was in the top left, then, the back right would be darker, things like that. So I know it seems sometimes, and I had said this in the live at the same time, like I know sometimes you're like, well, why would I do all that work just to cover it up? Because sometimes it's easier to do it that way, even though, it is taking more time. Now for me personally, because I am a colorist and I enjoy coloring, it doesn't bother me one bit whatsoever to color it, to just adjust it, to color it again. It also doesn't bother me to color it and not use all of it. Everybody's different. That's no judgment if it does bother you. If you are capable of just coloring the front left side of the skirt, then by all means do that because it's all you're going to see. So now here the skirt is colored, and so looking that light source top left, everything is going to be darker in the bottom right. So now I'm going to start adding in those darker colors, those darker shadows. And on the left hand side we'll also add, more shadows there because the highlight color is really going to be the only part that is even kind of light. Everything else going to be super dark because it's back behind that doorway. So in the real live, like there is an opportunity for more like organic story time. And there's an opportunity to win a gift card to Honeybee, just in case you didn't know that. But I also understand that, not everybody can make those. So I tried to leave in some of the more organic story time in the hour-long one. Here it is a little bit different where, like normally I would have story time. So like we talked a little bit about how like I decided to start my own book club with the people that I actually like. We talked a little bit about how I watched Dirty Dancing 2 times on my birthday with my daughter, and I know it's adult themes, but I don't care. She loved it and I loved it, and it's my favorite movie, and that's how I wanted to spend my birthday, so I did. So here I realized that my frame was just, I had to move it up in order to be able to fit everything in there that I wanted. I already had too many items, like all these items to the right that you see. I'm going to use basically none of those. But then that's what I get for trying to pre-plan. So anywho, I've glued my frame to a black piece of cardstock, and now I'm going to cut out the center. That black piece of cardstock is going to act as like the quote unquote inside of my house, and then we're looking out the doorway. They don't have a screen door in this witch's house. There's no screen door. So there, I realized that I was going to need a floor. Now here, I'm adding a little bit of brown to the ground so she doesn't look like she's floating. And then this happened. So I'm picking out my sentiments. I'm figuring out how it's going to go. And this happened. My phone died. So I was able to, because it was alive, I was able to use the front facing camera while I was gluing her down, while I was stamping my sentiment and stamping my cat. So I did all of that. And that part is included in the hour-long one, but for this one, there was no point in you just looking at me. Unfortunately, just like I would if I lost the footage in regular video, I just cut it out. So here, I did want to talk about, you guys know I like to blend in my characters into my scenes. I did that with the witch, and I'm going to do I did it with the broom. I'm going to do the same thing with this little spider. And I just wanted to leave this one in, most importantly, because I know that I'm going over a black stamping with dark browns, but I need to do that in order for it to blend into my doorway. Even the blacks, I am going to color black, so because I need it to blend in with the wall. But we're going to fix that with a white gel pen to still get our little guy to show up. Same thing with the skull and crossbones. Like I glued one, I blended it. I glued the next one, I blended it. One thing to note, I did have to add a floor. I had started saying that before. So I did have to add a floor. I just used some gray cardstock, and glued that on there so that the inside has a floor. And then I added, I blended that out with some gray Copic markers because it needed to have something. I had to raise it up. So now that everything is all stamped and colored, I am going to pop up this door frame with some foam tape, and then I stood up to make sure that I was going to be able to get it centered. Even I know she has no body. She doesn't. And in the other card that I will link to at the end of the video, she doesn't have a body there either. I think I used the sentiment for her torso. But you get the kind of idea where you can see just her floofy hat and her skirt peeking out, and that works for the vibe we're going for. I added some shimmer to the moon and then all the places that the moonlight would touch. Here's where we're going in with that white gel pen. I went right over the line for the silk from the spider. I let it skip where it wanted to, and then I added some highlights to his legs and 2 little eyes. Same thing for the cat. So that way, you would still be able to see it. I did, because you guys know that I love the shimmer and the shine, I did go in with the rainbow rhinestones and add them around the sentiment, which I chose the little Hocus Pocus one because I thought it was so adorable. And then that is the whole card. So please leave your feedback. Also, don't forget to check out that 20% off sale before it's over tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.